Hey guys, hope everyone is doing amazing tonight. It was a nice day here. It's actually starting to feel like spring, which is great. So, kind of loving that. We probably still have another month and a half that we have to worry about frost, possibly another few weeks of possible snowstorms, but otherwise, it hasn't been too bad. So we're getting some of the gardens changed over. We've got the raised beds, but they're spread out. So now what we're trying to do is close them up, use a lot more space. We're going to put in some more trellises so we can grow more vertically as well. Start using up more space in the gardens. We're going to expand some of the stuff out into the food forests. Basically, try and utilize everything, every little inch we have, we can use. So we've got Rem's Family Farm here. Hello. A little homestead by the beach. Paul Andre, Jean-Marc, Honey Badger's Homestead. Hope you guys are doing amazing. So, yeah, we're trying to get the raised bed utilized for some stuff like turnips, carrots, that sort of thing. And then a lot of the other stuff, potatoes and that, we're actually going to move out into the food forest. We're going to try the roost out method, put down some compost, and then we've got some straw. So we're going to put that over top of the potatoes, and we're going to scatter them around the food forest that we have. And that way, we're hoping not only to be able to utilize more of the regular gardens for other stuff like carrots and onions, but then also spread out the potatoes. So if we have potato bugs again this year, we don't have to worry about them spreading as much as they did last year. So last year we had a few, but we went out almost every day, went around picking them off, checking for eggs, that sort of thing, which wasn't too bad. But, I'd rather have stuff spread out and less likely to have some sort of spread of infestation. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, so we've been going through some stuff that we've had in our food forest, as well as stuff that we want to continue planting. We want to try and maximize again as much space as we can with everything we can, grow as much vertically as we can, uh, help stuff complement each other. And I think the more we grow as well in a smaller area, then the more mulch is going to fall. The leaves fall off. We've got the nitrogen fixers where their leaves fall off or the beans fall off. And it starts creating that mulch, building up our soil, which we really need because everything here is just sand. It's basically a sandbox. So the more we can benefit the soil from all those nutrients and all the organic matter, the better it's going to be to continue to go forward. So, yeah, and it does take time. It's not like you can't do everything in a year, to my knowledge, unless, you strip everything out and have dump trucks come in and then build it from there. But even there, you don't have that kind of biodiversity. You don't have all the bug life, all the birds, all the caterpillars, everything interacting. It's just kind of, you've got it built, but so over the years, it all builds up, especially with the mulching and that. Nice. That's awesome. The raised bed for us is a key, especially with the sandy soil. If we did everything, basically tried to just put compost down on the ground, then it's going to just go into the soil and spread around. So this way we can kind of contain it a little bit more while building up the beds in the other gardens. So they're not raised beds, they're just regular big open bed. And we continue to throw rabbit manure, compost, everything else into there and keep mixing it up to make it a lot better. So I kind of went through and made a list of some of the stuff we have, as well as other stuff that, anyone can plant in basically almost a zone 3B to zone 4 and above. We're depending on where you look, we sometimes fall into the zone B, sometimes the zone 4. So we try and buy stuff that's zone 3 or zone A just to make sure it really grows well and it produces what it's supposed to produce for us. So yeah, Bridget was going to join me tonight, but the dog is a little bit cuckoo, so she's going to try and de-cuckoo him and then might join us in a bit. So going through it, what I was finding out, the more I find out, that just my brain just starts filling up with so much knowledge. But from what I understand, in a food forest or permaculture, there's basically, they have 7 different levels. You've got your tall trees, you've got your medium trees, you've got your shrub layer, hibiscus layer, which is, as I understand it, the stuff that's kind of low to the ground. You've got kind of your root layer, so stuff that is sending stuff down into the ground. You've got your ground cover, and then you've got vines, which are growing up among the trees and the shrubs and that kind of thing. So I kind of just went through, again, some of the stuff we had, some of the stuff we want to bring in, and some of the stuff that might be options for you guys. Oh, Bluebell grape. I don't know if it will survive. We'd have to check it out and see if that what zone it's for. There's a lot of grapes that actually go down to about zone 2, which is really cool to know. Yeah, we lost quite a few branches. We were kind of lucky and we're right in between, because we did wrap a bunch of our trees that we've never done before. And then a lot of the other trees that we had damaged years before got damaged again because we didn't wrap them. So probably almost every tree that we didn't wrap, unless it was over 5 feet, got some sort of damage, whether it was just some tips taken off or lower branches taken off or 2 or 3 branches taken off. A lot of them sustained some damage this year, which, now we're going to have to wait again. Where we thought a few of them might produce some fruit this year, it'll probably be another couple of years now. Yeah, so a 50-foot tree, no, like 5 foot, anything with limbs that were over 5 feet, we didn't touch. Anything that was under 5 feet, we wrapped a bunch of them. Yeah, so for us, what we did is we kind of just made like a teepee tripod with extra wood. You can take 2x4s, 2x3s, 1x3s. We used scraps of everything we could find and made a tripod. And then we took Tyvek that we had extra of, the house wrap, and just wrapped it around and stapled it on. That way the snow kind of rests on the tripod, on the Tyvek, instead of grabbing those branches. Because what'll happen is, it's not so much the snow falling that harms the tree, but as the snow builds up over top of those branches, as it starts to melt, it will actually kind of cling onto the branch. And then as it melts, everything compacts. And as it goes down, it takes those branches with it and breaks them off, tears them off. So anything you can do to protect those branches from getting caught up in that snowpack would be great. Hickory Crop Farm, welcome. James, welcome. Mennonite Farmhouse, welcome. Glad you guys could join us. Shawnee, I don't think I said welcome, but welcome. Thanks so much for you guys to join us. Yeah, we've had rabbit damage in the past. This year we didn't have, I don't think we had any rabbit damage that we can find. It's just all been snow damage. Prepper Chicken Texas, welcome. Vanessa Kitty, welcome. Okay, so in our zone anyway, zone 4, and it's at basically zone 3B and above for some of this stuff, is some of the taller trees. Gathered Together Homestead, glad you could join us. So a few of them would be maples. So get sugar maples, red maples, and basically any maple tree too, you can tap for syrup. It's just sugar maples are the best for it. So maples are great to add in. Chestnut trees, black walnut. You have to be careful with black walnut though, because in some cases they actually compete against apple trees. So if they're too close to an apple tree, they, I don't know, do some sort of magic underneath with the root, send out something, and they can actually kill the apple trees if they're too close. Other ones are burnut, hazelburt, Korean pines, which are the pine nuts that you use for pesto sauce. So you can actually plant Korean pines, then collect the pine nuts from those to make your pesto sauce. We've planted, I think, 6 or 7 of them. However, they're tiny little ones, and I'll probably be dead before we even get to collect some pine nuts from them. But, you know, future generations will be able to benefit from it. Oaks, hickory. There are actually some hickory trees that will survive 3B, 3A, and hackberry. So all those ones are kind of dual use as well. So not only do they give you nuts, but something like the hickory you can also use for your smoker. So they come in very handy as well. So LP just came in. Hello, Dave Knight. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's see what we got. Raspberries and blueberries, awesome. We've got the wild ones here that are so great because it allows us to forage for them, and we've started planting them as well, but we've planted kind of the domestic cultivars so that we get the bigger ones rather than just the smaller wild ones. Pine nuts, yeah. So it's the Korean pine that produces the pine nuts for that. But again, it's tough trying to find those ones that are big enough that will produce them soon. So you're looking at about 10 to 15 years possibly before they start producing those. So the sooner you can plant Korean pines, the better. Awesome. Good to hear. Blueberries and raspberries are awesome. We just love them here. The blackberries too. Tracy T Hand 141, welcome. Yeah, exactly. That's just it. Nice. Yeah, so any of these ones will work for you as well, zone 4A, because all the ones I've been talking about again are for basically 3, 3A, 3B, and 4. Tina Ladybug, welcome. Glad you could join us. We've got a bunch of grapes as well. I believe they're zone 2 or zone 3. They they take a lot of care, and ours are just been so slow. They're great to grow if they will grow, but ours started last year and then they got hit with frost, so they got set back. So they didn't grow that much last year, which is it's a shame. So those were the tall trees. Again, maples, chestnuts, black walnut. Again, don't put the black walnut close to apples. Burnuts, hazelburt, Korean pine for doing your pesto sauce, oak, hickory, and hackberry. So then we get into basically the lower trees, and those ones will be your regular kind of fruit trees. So those would be your apples, your pears, your plums, cherries, choke cherries, hawthorn, and sumac. There's a lot of other ones, but these ones we have, especially here in our climate. So they're great for that, the zone as well. Not sure on Niagara, but Niagara and Prince Edward County down in Ontario both are, I want to say they're like zone 6-ish, maybe higher. They've got their own, especially Prince Edward County has its own little microclimate down there. It's pretty wild. Yeah, you'll have to check because it's the black walnuts that don't like the apple trees. But if they're far enough apart, then they won't do too bad. And what I've seen too is if you have something else in the way, so if you plant a black walnut here, an apple tree here, but then you put, say, a pear in between them, then it's all seems to be okay. So you have to check that out and read into that a bit more. But it's almost like the other fruit trees will protect the apple tree from the walnut tree. It's pretty neat. Patrick, glad you could join us. Thanks for coming in. So, again, your low trees will be your apples, pears, plums, cherries, choke cherries, hawthorn, and sumac. I'm not a big fan of sumac, but some people are. And it's one of the big ones for, I guess, doing your full blown permaculture food forest. The next level down below that will be your shrubs. With that, I've kind of included a bunch, your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, black currant, elderberry, cranberry. We've done some cranberry. They're trees. They're not like I know up in Muskoka area they do a lot of cranberries, but they do them in marshes. These ones are on trees. They haven't done that well. So I'm thinking they might need more moisture or they might need a different environment, but they haven't done as well as we thought they would. Some other ones include red currant, lilacs, rose. A nitrogen fixer that we have as well is the blue Fox Willow. It's a great little one. Looks good and supposedly a nitrogen fixer as well. Siberian Pea Shrub. I don't know much about that one. I just found out about it, but it really sounds interesting. Doesn't sound invasive at all. Whereas there are some out there where they're like, this is a nitrogen fixer. It's great, but guess what? It's seriously invasive. So I've tried to leave anything that's invasive off these lists as well. Wolf willow, buffalo berry, milkweed. Milkweed is amazing for the monarch butterflies. So, you know, as a kid and that you kind of see the milkweeds and you're like, just destroy them because they didn't look good and they had those fluffy things that flew everywhere. Well, they're really good for monarch butterflies. So if you have any milkweeds, try and save them. Also tobacco as well. So we've got some of that growing. We haven't done anything yet with our plums because our plum trees are still small. They're still growing up, but just plums you can just regularly eat like apples, that sort of thing. Pretty sure there might be some dishes, desserts, that kind of thing that you can use. But for us, we just want them to grow and eat, pick off the tree. Yeah, there's in some places that's why I'm not a big fan of sumac because where I used to be, the property was almost covered with sumac and I was always cutting it back and it would get in the way of stuff. So I'm not really a big fan of sumac at all. I'd have to retake a look at it now to see if there's something I could use it for. I know there are some, I don't know if it's medicinal or you can make some teas or something out of it. So I'd have to take a look at it again. But right now, I'm still not a big fan of it. Yeah, the cranberry. So again, our trees aren't doing very well. They're still like up to my knee. So I'm hoping that maybe this year I'll move them to somewhere where they might get a little bit more moisture to see if that helps. But right now, they're not doing that great. Oh, nice. That's a great idea. Sweet. Okay, great. The Siberian pea shrub. Nice. And I'm told you can eat them, no problem. You have to cook them, I think. Uh, and as far as I know, they're not invasive. I don't know if you can tell me that or not. Okay, mildly invasive, but the sheep eat it. That's the other thing we're looking at too is some of those ones where, we've been watching a lot of other YouTube videos on people who are doing the permaculture with goats and stuff. And there's quite a few that have goats, but they've got like these paths going all through the farm or the homestead where the goats can go along and they've got comfrey and they've got trees hanging over. So even though they've got somewhat invasive plants on there, they have it so the goats can pretty much manage the growth of it, which is pretty cool. Yep, we've got a number of sticks still that we need to do something with. Maybe we'll poke them with another stick and see if they grow a little better. So again, the shrub level that works for us and that we know of is blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, black currants, elderberries, cranberries, red currant, lilac, rose, blue fox willow, Siberian pea shrub, wolf willow, buffalo berry, milkweed, tobacco. Then we get into basically the lower level, and we've got a bunch of stuff in there that we still want to add more to as well to kind of, utilize more of the space. Half of it was blueberry, raspberry, blackberry. Oh, oh yeah. Ouch. There's so many spots in Quebec here that we've seen that there's so much blueberry, raspberry, blackberry that's all wild in it, and it's just so awesome. So the herbaceous level would be, if I'm saying that right, I never pronounce stuff right. Would be your thyme, sage, rosemary. Rosemary, you'd have to check to see if it actually survives in your climate. For us, we haven't had any luck with rosemary. We still want to see if some of the rosemary that is out front in our other herb garden survives. It got a ton of snowpack on it. So hopefully it was insulated enough that it actually survived. Don't know, but we haven't had much luck with the rosemary. Chives, we do tons of chives. We've got them all over the property and we love them. Dill, Salad Burnet. Salad Burnet is one that I don't think too many people know about. It's one that can be used in place of parsley in your salads, but it's also a hemostatic agent as well. So if you have a cut or a gash or scrape, you can roll it up, crush it up, and put it on the wound, and it'll help stop the bleeding on that. Another one's basil, perennial garlic, borage, plantain, clary sage, comfrey, soapwort, French sorrel or oregano, parsley, savory, rhubarb, asparagus, bergamot, anise hyssop, flax, mint. There's so many of those herbs and low growing stuff that you can get going on the forest floor. It's just amazing. You can It's just like a bonanza of flavors and medicinal herbs and stuff. Yes, yeah. And I think back to, like, when people used to well, people still do grow gardens, but they make them look, kind of manicured and stuff. So you have a shrub here and a flower here and maybe another lower shrub here. It's like all that space in between. Just start sticking rosemary and sage and parsley and everything else you can. Just get it in there and jam pack tight. It'll help it. It'll protect the soil level too. It'll help with the bugs and all that kind of good science stuff that's going on down there at that lower level. Yeah, for us, rosemary is really hard. I don't know what we're doing wrong. I was told that it like stressful conditions. So what I tried to do last year as well is yell at my rosemary to see if that would help cause it a bit more stress. But then they explained, no, it's like you gotta let it dry out. So you gotta kind of starve it of water, that kind of thing. It likes the heat, it likes the desert conditions, but not too much. So I'm gonna try again this year to grow some more, see if I can keep it alive because I just love it so much. Haskap are amazing. For us, I don't know if it's Haskap or Camarese. Uh, there's always a little bit of confusion on that one, whether it's the same or different. It depends who you talk to, but we've got, I think it's 3 Camarese plants planted out there. And for anyone that doesn't know, they kind of look like someone took a blueberry and just stretched it out, and they're really yummy. We don't get a lot of them. So far what we've done is we collect them, drop them into a yogurt container and freeze them. So we'll freeze them with raspberries and blackberries and blueberries and stuff that we forage. So we make this little fruit mix, and then the boys will use that on their yogurt, or we'll use it in smoothies and that sort of stuff. So they'll pull a container out of the freezer and then scoop a bit of that fruit onto their yogurt. Cilantro. I'm not sure if I think I like cilantro. There's a few things that I get confused on all the time, and cilantro is one of those. But I think I do like cilantro because I think that's one of the ones that they stick in like some salsa or whatchamacallit. What's the raw meat? I forget. Anyway, I think I like that one, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and there's so many ones that you can plant that look great as well. So basically going through the list, like thyme is awesome because it's got those purple flowers on it. Looks so nice. Sage to me looks nice. It contrasts a lot with other stuff. So it doesn't I, I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure it does have flowers too, but I don't I don't remember what ours look like, but to me, the leaves contrast so much with some of the other stuff that it's just a nice picture. Chives, when chives go to flower, they look awesome. Um, Red scarlet runner beans, there's something if you have an arch where you can have the flowers as well as the edible beans on them. Borage is another one. Perennial garlic's another one. Um, Soapwort, French sorrel, um, rhubarb. It it's not bad. I mean, it doesn't look pretty, but when it flowers and stuff, it doesn't look too bad. It's pretty neat. There's a lot of other flowers that kind of look like that, but so there's a lot of those ones that anise hyssop's another one. Looks amazing too. Great flowering bush and so useful as well. Yeah. Yeah. So true. Do do I like cilantro? I think I like cilantro. I'm pretty sure I do. Uh, oh yeah. Yeah, Bridget does a mango salad with cilantro that's really good. Now I remember. Yeah. Okay, nice. Nice. Awesome. Rhubarb's great. It's another great one. We've got I want to say like 7, I think about 7 different plants throughout the different areas in the backyard where we've started some from seed and kept them going. We bought others that were small last year, got them planted. So we want to keep adding every year as well, just to keep everything growing and keep stuff going. Uh yeah, the purple coneflower echinacea is awesome as well. And that's just it. Is there's so many flowers like that, medicinal flowers, medicinal herbs, medicinal weeds that people, well, I say weeds because a lot of people consider them weeds, but there's so many of those too that are so beneficial that we've totally forgotten about, that we can just let grow. Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking that too, that we got to get some cilantro planted now. Pamela Plant, welcome. Glad you could join us. Unless that's spam, I can't tell just yet. So again, going through the herbaceous level, thyme, sage, rosemary, chives, dill, salad burnet, basil, perennial garlic, borage, plantain, clary sage, comfrey, soapwort, French sorrel, oregano, parsley, savory, rhubarb, asparagus, bergamot, anise hyssop, flax, mint. Then basically there's the root layer. So that gets basically okay, perfect. Sorry, Pamela. Glad you're not spam. That's great. So welcome to the channel. Glad you could join us. Weeds well adopted. Yes, exactly. So in the root level, there's carrots, potatoes, horseradish, Saint Anne shallots, Pios americano. I just found out about that one, but it's kind of like a ground nut. Burdock, Queen's Anne's lace, parsnip, turnip. There's a bunch of others as well that would work as well. With the root crops, it's great because they don't you don't have to worry about the frost and that kind of stuff the same way you do with some of the other ones. Exactly. I didn't recognize. It's a meat dish. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. So with that kind of stuff, remember you can move a lot of those root crops into your food forest as well. You can plant them around your apple trees, your pear trees, your maple trees, that kind of stuff. You don't have to leave that stuff into your raised vegetable garden. You can have it all combined in one area. So again, carrots, potatoes, horseradish, Saint Anne shallots, Pios americano, burdock, Queen's Anne's lace, parsnip, turnip. There's one I was just thinking of, and I can't remember what it was. Brains fried. Lewis, welcome. Glad you could join us. Hope everyone's doing well. Number 6 is ground cover. So depending on how you look at it, there's lots of options for ground cover. Some are useful, some aren't. Ones that I think are pretty useful that work for us and could work for you guys as well is strawberries, wild strawberries, regular strawberries, wintergreen, and low bush blueberries. So you can get the ones that are basically, low to the ground rather than the ones that get up high. And then the last level is basically your vines, your climbing stuff. So in that, most people, grapes is one. So you'd have to look again at grapes that work for your zone. I've also added to that red scarlet runner beans, snow peas, basically any of those vining ones. You can use them to grow up around corn. You can have them grow up on low trees. You can have them grow up in your high trees. You can put trellises out. You can basically use them to your advantage to utilize space above where, put them over top of a walkway or a pathway. Use them for shade as well. So if you have a deck area that you want to sit in where you need shade, put them over top of that and utilize that area as well for growing stuff. Oh, someone came to visit. Hopefully he's calmed down a little bit. Yeah, nice. Awesome. Good to hear. This is informative. Great to help. That's why I kind of went slow and kind of wanted to review some of that stuff. So, you could kind of go back or write it down as we're going, that sort of thing. But again, it's here on video, so you'll be able to go back through and pull out some of the stuff as well. Yeah, burdock is great. I used to hate it again, but it's one of those ones that is a great medicinal plant. Everyone loves a free food course. It's awesome. Yeah, smash that like, guys. Let me know you appreciate this. It's all good. It really helps us out as well. So I appreciate you so much for joining us and chatting with us as well. Hope this is useful to you. I don't think I've actually ever had spam. Yeah. I'm very familiar with it, especially from Monty Python. So clover is another good one because for us here, especially when we've had the bees, it's so great for them. We always go out and we love walking barefoot around the homestead. but it's one of those where you really have to watch where you're going because there's usually honeybees all over the clover. Oh, I'll have to do that. I haven't done that yet, but I'll have to do that on this one to make sure each level is easier to find as well. That would be great. Big Bear Prepper, welcome. Glad you could join us. Yeah, there's stuff like the burdock. That's why we're actually considering the comfrey as well. Even though we hear it's invasive, we think from what we've seen and read, we'll be able to control it with the goats as long as we have it like on the goat path and we're able to section off different areas where they can walk and then feed on different stuff. So whether they feed on it on the ground or we have trees hanging over where they can make sure they prune it or that drop stuff into the goat area as well. Yeah, that was the other thing is there's a sterile version of the comfrey that we've heard, so that the roots itself in the original plant will continue to produce that plant, but either it won't go to seed or the seeds don't produce anything, so it makes it a little easier to control. Rye for cover crop. Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of the winter wheat, the rye, a lot of those ones that you can use, clover as well, buckwheat. Those are all great cover crops. For us up here, unfortunately, we don't have time to use a cover crop. By the time it gets started growing, it's already dead from the frost or the snow and that sort of thing. So we might try kind of a winter wheat to see if that would work going through the winter and then sort of till it under in the spring. However, we're also thinking we want to grow some sort of grain as well to start producing some cereal, flour, that kind of stuff. So might try millet or something. It seems to grow well here and we don't have to look after it as well. Wood sorrel. Okay, nice. Didn't know about that one. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, exactly. There, a lot of the time in my past, I always saw burdock as a weed and would cut it down, try and get rid of it. However, now here, I'm letting it grow. Can you guys hear that? Is the dog annoying you? He's kind of chewing on his bone, making some noise here. I don't want to disturb anyone. Awesome. Great to hear. So thankful, guys. Dog's ridiculous. He's laying right here, chewing on his bone, and yeah.
I just want to say hi. I'm gonna go with the bone.
Yeah. Try and keep the dog occupied. Fall wheat. Yep. So there's a lot of those ones. Winter wheat's the one you can plant basically in the fall, let it go, and then harvest it kind of summerish. So okay, that's good. They're gone upstairs anyway, so yeah, clover's a good one too for the chickens as well as rabbits. So we've noticed our chickens are always munching on the clover out here. That's where they find their grasshoppers as well. So it's great for that. The rabbits love it. So if you have rabbits and you want to do a rabbit colony, just throw some clover in there. They love that as well. We've never tried it as a cover crop. My thought for what I've seen is it might be harder to get rid of than, say, a winter wheat or rye or something like that. She might jump back on her phone and join the chat. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah. Bumblebees are awesome. We love them here too. It's so great to be able to see them on. We've got, I want to say, 4 kind of flower gardens. We've got like one big one over here that we've dedicated just to flowers. There's one up front that's kind of flower herb. We've got one out back that's flower medicinal herb. And then we've got one over by the beehive as well. And that's kind of like shrubbing bushes that we bought not only to kind of block a bit of the view from the neighbors, but for pollinators as well. And seeing them out on like the flower garden is just crazy. They're always so happy. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Really appreciate that as well. Yeah, and there's so many weeds too. Like, it's so funny because when my parents come to visit, my dad always wants to pick the weeds and cut the grass and do that stuff. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, if you want to do something, I will give you something to do, but don't start doing the stuff here that you normally do at home, because we let the weeds grow here. We let the clover grow here. We let the dandelions grow here. There's stuff we do here that you don't do at home. So if you want something to do, I'll give you something to do. You've always got to do stuff. I don't have many. I've got one bunch down in the basement. I've got a wooden one right there. I don't know. You can kind of see it. I've got more axes and shields and stuff than hammers. So, yep, exactly. It's great because not only is it less work for us to do that, but then we can benefit from it. It's already there. There's, I believe, Burdock's one too. Is it Burdock? I'll have to check. But there's a couple of them. Sunflowers one that is supposed to remove heavy metals and other stuff like that from the soil. So it's great to just be able to leave that stuff there and allow that to work its magic. Oh, bumblebees are so great because, like, we've got the pool, and then we've got cold weather up here too. So there's the odd time where they fall in the pool or they fall in the bird bath, or it gets a little cooler at night and you find them sleeping on flowers, or they're a little wet from the bird bath or something like that. And you just pick them up and you can hold them in your hand, and then they walk around for a bit. You see them flutter their wings to dry off, and then they take off. They're just so cool. Dragonflies are another one. Dragonflies are so awesome. Eating all the mosquitoes, just like bats. So neat. Yeah, it's neat to find out the different breads or different wheats for different things as well. I'm gonna have to again research that a lot more to figure out what exactly we want to grow here. Again, I want to try the millet because I find it really grows well here. I'm not sure if the millet's good for the bread. Apparently, it's good for the cereals and stuff like that. So we'll have to see. Yeah, dandelion's another one that's really good as well. So, and plus the bees love it. You can make wine with it. You can eat it in a salad. Just so many benefits. Yeah, yeah, basically I think they're really some of the first ones to pop up besides some of the early flowers and that. This the one just like Bella Marsh. It, again, it depends where you are doing and what you're doing. The our one big potato bed, you know, we take the weeds out of that because we don't want them in that one. So yeah, yeah, exactly. There's so many things that, I look back on stuff that I could have grown, I could have known about, I could have utilized. The one house I used to live in, we had a massive black walnut, and every year I would get so frustrated because the black walnuts would be everywhere, and the squirrels would pick them up, and I'd go into the shed, start of winter, and the watering cans would be filled with black walnut. I'd have, the boxes of nails. Well, they'd open those up, and inside it would be filled with black walnuts. Ski boots filled with black walnuts. Just everywhere where there was some sort of spot would be filled with black walnuts. And I hated them, but I didn't realize that you can eat them. So if I had known that back then, man, we would have been in heaven. That would have been just awesome. Yeah, and I haven't tried dandelion wine. I really need to. I'd be quite interested in doing that. We were going to try it this year, but we don't have enough dandelions on our property yet. There's another farm in town where we get our hay from, where one of their field it looked like it was entirely dandelions, like you grew it on purpose. And we're going to go over it, but we just didn't have time to be able to do that. Yeah, dandelions or dragonflies are so cool. I used to kayak as well, and they land on the front of your kayak, and you can put your hand out, and usually they'll crawl up onto it. They're just so neat. And so great for the environment as well, getting rid of mosquitoes and other stuff. Ah, okay. Nice. That's good to know. I love this. There's you know, so much information here. It's amazing. I just love that. That is so great. Yeah. So those were, I think we covered everything on the zone 4 food forest that I like anyway, and that we either have here or we want to get here. There's there's a few things, especially like the sugar maples and oak trees and the Korean pines and all that it, all those tall trees just take so long. But you know, if you plant them now, you might see it. If you don't see it, then it's going to benefit maybe your kids or someone else. So it's always good just to go ahead and do it anyway. It feels good. It's good for mental health and brain and that sort of stuff. For me, it's so calming to not only do the work, but you know I'm creating something and bettering my area, my environment. So yeah, that's a really good point, that you want to make sure that it's basically free from any pesticides and that sort of stuff. You don't want to be herbicides as well. You don't want to be ingesting a ton of that stuff. Yep. Yeah, it's great to be able to just go out as well, sit down and watch nature and learn from what it's doing. One of the coolest things that we've seen is over the time we've been here and started to develop the food forest, started to develop our raised beds, and the area itself is, at first when we started planting the raised beds, we did that first with the vegetables, and we saw a huge influx of grasshoppers and pests and that sort of stuff. But then as we started to develop the habitat around, plant more trees, plant more shrubs, just create more habitat, what we found is we then got an influx of birds. And I think this year it'll probably even out, and we'll start to kind of get that, whatchamacallit, symbiosis or whatever, that whole thing where everything works together. We might start kind of seeing that this year, where there's a perfect amount of grasshoppers for the birds and nothing's eating our veggies because the birds and the other bugs are taking care of it. I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how everything continues to develop each and every year. Have a great night. Glad you could join us. A lot of the information's kind of in the first half, so you'll be okay just kind of watching the first half and getting that out. It's so true. It's so true. It boggles my mind too how much I don't know and how much I want to know. Even just building old style fences, old style gates, the way they used to do things, say back in the 1800s and that sort of stuff. There's so much now that a lot of us could use on our homestead, instead of trying to think of the new way of doing things. It's quite easy to look back at the way things used to be and imitate that as well. So one of the things I learned a couple weeks ago, we were thinking of building a barn for our animals and all that. And what I was watching is, they just built like a pig shelter out of stone and stuff. But instead of going out and grabbing the thick, hard insulation to put down on the floor, they actually just used wine bottles. So if you put the wine bottles down, and as soon as I watched it, I was like, yeah, because some of those houses, the earth house out earth ships, they use wine bottles for insulation in the walls. So they put the wine bottles down and then cover it with the concrete, and that actually keeps the concrete warm for the pigs. So I'm like, you can actually build like a little pig shelter and insulate it with wine bottles and concrete. I'm like, wow, to me, that's some of that kind of stuff is so cool, rather than going out buying insulation and plastic wrap and that sort of stuff. And then, you insulate and use plastic wrap, and then you have to worry about mice and rodents getting inside and living inside the walls. I worry about the wood rotting. So there's trying to find more of that information is so awesome. My brain just, oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the thumbs up. Again, it really helps out. Love it. Thank you. Take care. Have a great night, eh? We'll talk to you soon. Ecosystem. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that's how we started getting our millet here. Is we found out that they put millet in bird seed, and it's not one that the birds eat a lot, so it usually gets deposited somewhere and starts growing. Hey, Peter, glad you could join us. Thanks for coming in. Common sense. Yeah, common sense ain't that common today. I even lack a lot of it myself, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Yeah, we've done that too as well. We brought in maples from the back, where we find that in the back of our property there'll be spots where you get a whole bunch of maples growing in the same spot. So you thin it out, transplant it to other spots on the property, and it's a lot healthier as well for the forest to have that space it needs to grow. Take care, eh? Glad you could join us. Thanks so much. It's true. Yeah. And a lot of stuff was handed down as well. There's a lot of books that I found as well that were written about stuff, and stuff was studied. And so, um, a lot of people had more books as well where they could refer to and use as reference. Wildman Survival. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. Ren's Homestead. Glad you could join us as well. There's always editing to do, eh? Yeah, the more seeds you can stock up, the better. And it's always good to have a bunch on hand, not just to grow your own food, to harvest, but to grow for seed as well. So harvest a bunch that you need, let the rest go to seed, and then be able to store that to be able to use next year, and just continue to build up that inventory. It's awesome. Thanks so much. I I'm learning so much now in my older age that I never did as a kid and or younger, and um also trying to open my mind up a lot more than when I was younger as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having more seeds and then being able to reproduce those seeds each year is so great, because then not only do you have that stashed away so you can use it on a rainy day, but also then you depend less on the system as well. You don't have to go out and say spend $100, $200 on seeds because you already have them stashed away. All right, guys. So already been an hour. So I don't know if you have any questions at all on the whole thing that we went through. You can always go back, look at it. Uh, I I actually might copy it as well into the description after it gets posted and that kind of stuff. So then we can use it as a reference, and then people can add to it or impart more knowledge on it as well. Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that, guys, I'm going to wish you guys a good night. There's probably some other lives as well that everyone wants to go check out. I really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you guys so much for everything. And we'll be talking to you soon. If you have any questions at all, just drop them into the chat afterwards or comment on the video afterwards. Again, take care, guys. Thanks so much. Have an amazing night.